open the window and influenza.
Gotta lose this chin. When
You
we
look
get
good.
this going, we gotta send this to Elsie.
Yeah, I know you made a few references, I think, in the past to Elsie and Evita and all that.
What past?
And I made a reference to Sonia.
Well, you can't do that, but I can. Nothing,
yeah.
man. Just checking in.
Look great. You're down to one chin, man. It's good. It's good for you.
Well,
It's good
the other chin's in Flushing, Queens. And, you
Yeah.
know, so I'm down to one chin. In France, I had more chins than it. And,
Oh
I
man!
haven't
Well,
seen this girl in 7 weeks.
yeah. Well, welcome to Winston, where 2 + 2 make 4. What are we? I think we're in week 5 of the lockdown, the quarantine, the global
5.
quarantine.
I
Right?
think it might be like 6 or 7.
I'm losing my mind a little bit. I have to tell you, I'm not doing
Late
too much.
April, I think we're like, probably 5 or 6
How are
weeks.
you feeling, man? I think I'm losing my sense of sanity.
Well,
Oh, by the way, we have to make a pledge.
keeping my
I have to
sanity.
stop saying man and after saying okay and all
Say
right.
woman instead. Stay woman. Instead of man.
Yeah, because I think I've done that in the hundreds in the last couple of podcasts we've had.
I think my sanity has been enhanced to some degree
Yeah, actually, to some degree.
because I realize all the issues I have that I might have thought were a big deal
Yeah.
are inconsequential in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, you know, Conchita Gonzalez, who I made reference to many times.
Yeah.
There are a couple of million very traditional Catholics waiting on bated breath for what Conchita Gonzalez has to say about the last signs of the end times, about the chastisement that's supposed to come from God, and that she holds a secret. She's one of the I think she's the last remaining seer of Garabandal. If Garabandal is legitimate, and there's some evidence that it is, including the fact, actually the most powerful of which, that they did things that were miracles of sort, like the children of the village that happened around Vatican II in the early 1960s. Well, first of all, the message seems
1960 in Spain, yeah.
Yeah, seems rather consistent in a turn, in a warning for the faithful to return back to traditional ways in light of the modernist thrust.
Yeah.
I think that was a legitimate conspiracy, a modernist thrust.
Yeah, the message was to
around the early 1960s in the church.
the message was to pray the rosary
Yeah.
and be a better person and give yourself to God, be more godlike.
Yeah, and I think it was also consistent with the message in Our Lady of Akita 10 years later, Akita, Japan, with Sister Kursegawa.
Okay.
Anyway, well, the message actually in those 2 cases was, yes, a return to the rosary as one of the greatest weapons against evil, and the other one was to pay as much respect as we possibly can to the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. And of course, there was
the Eucharist,
to disrespect the
which
Eucharist.
we are not getting now because we can't go to church.
Yeah.
We're not getting the Eucharist.
Yeah, okay, well, we can talk about that. So, like the greatest, I think, impact, most disheartening thing about this whole bizarre situation in the world, this global shutdown, this global martial law, it seems to me, and with some signs of rebellion around the world, which is quite good.
Yeah.
Rebellion is good to some degree, when it's necessary. And this is
Mark Levine stated on his radio show yesterday, he's covering all of his bases. I mean, this is a very intelligent man. He said the virus is serious. The virus is serious. He's a constitutional lawyer who's written various books. He's on the radio.
Yeah.
He said the virus is serious, but at what cost?
Right.
And the question remains, how do we surrender all of our freedoms so quickly?
Yeah.
That's pretty alarming. And you do hear governors wanting to open up again, saying they could have cautionary measures that will possibly prevent the spread. But it's not business as usual. But if they could start the economy going again, get us back to some semblance of normalcy, that's what we're looking at.
So. Yeah, it's a world with a new normal, as they say. Well, we don't really know what to expect. I think that's one of the things to fear the most here. We don't know what kind of world we're going to have after this is over. Will it ever be over? I mean, it seems to me
if they don't want it to be, it won't.
Yeah, it seems this is a relatively minor pandemic so far as
Sure.
pandemics go.
Sure.
And I'm comparing it to the flu epidemic of the 1918 and the Black Death 1,000 years earlier, and so on.
Yeah, if we're
So on and so
talking
forth.
numbers.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, just in terms of death rate, in terms of how virulent it was, and the impact on society, and the percentage of dead who contracted these
Yeah.
diseases. But let me just
May I
say,
say one? Yeah.
so a couple of things I just want to drive home here is we don't know what kind of a world we're going to have after this, and obviously it seems to me it's obvious that this is some sort of a test for the world to see how we respond in mass
Yep.
to the dictates of our leaders. Whether we in mass assume that our leaders always have the best intention for us, and
No.
that they're not taking advantage of the situation for their own benefits. The other one is, so we don't know. Certainly, they're going to be more pandemics. They're going to be on their way, and this is probably nothing in comparison to what's going to come. That's my impression. But it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if we're just so easily controlled and controllable.
Yeah, that's the argument. And another argument is if a second wave, as some physicians have said, is going to come, and it will be worse than this first wave, what are we going to shut down for a year or two? I mean, that's madness.
Well,
We must have selective quarantine
yeah,
and have the economy going, because currently, most people, according to this Dr. Benjamin Dom he went to Johns Hopkins University. He was talking about him working at 9/11, how only people who were affected with 9/11, the disaster in 9/11, were treated in these hospitals for burns and other things, and they shut everything else down. Hey, how you doing, Ava?
Hello.
How you doing, Dodo?
I'm
So
fine.
that is the argument.
Dodo.
The argument is
Can we have
at what price? So this orthopedic surgeon talks about secondary healthcare and the crisis from this pandemic, saying that other people are not being treated
yeah,
for heart conditions, for
Yeah.
surgery.
yeah,
And what is the price that's being paid for that?
yes,
He goes, as we focus on urgent medical needs, a secondary healthcare crisis is brewing, and it threatens to be much larger than the crisis by the virus itself. He says, is this a crisis of every other medical ailment is being ignored?
Mhm.
And he says, what happens? People who have heart disease can't get a routine blood test. Cancer screenings have been postponed. And people can't get surgery. He talks
Right.
about a former athlete who ripped his hamstring totally. And if he didn't have immediate surgery, he wouldn't be able to play sports again.
right,
Luckily,
right,
he was able to take him to an off-site clinic and perform the surgery.
right.
So the long-term benefits, this isn't being spoken about as much as it should be.
Yeah,
Now, once again, this is serious.
yeah.
Coronavirus is serious.
Is it? I'm not sure. I'm still debating that. I don't know one
Well-
person who has it, and I don't know one person.
Well, I know
who-
many
who-
more.
who thinks they had, who think they had it, who suffered terribly. My wife
Right.
thought she had it. I thought I had it for a moment. I mean, if that was it, I mean, it was just like about the most minor thing imaginable.
Well, yeah, some are
And I
going
don't
to
know
have it
anyone who
mild.
passed away or will come close to passing away. So I don't know what this is all about.
Yeah,
So
well,
I
in
don't want
New
to talk
York-
about this too much now, but there's some disturbing things we can say. I mean, on the order of some sort of a Holocaust. But I don't want to talk about this now, and I'm a little bit worried about being labeled a wild conspiratist.
Yeah.
But
conspiracy. Well, let me say
but let me just gather a little bit more information. Then I'm going to come back to you about certain things
Of
that
course. I mean,
have
no
have
one knows
excuse certain
definite.
people of.
We don't know definites of anything yet. I mean,
Okay.
there's so much information out
But
there.
let me just bring this back. There is a possibility that this is the new normal, and that this might be a permanent state in the world, certainly in our societies.
Yeah.
That essentially this is de facto martial law that we're facing,
Yeah.
with all the terrible imposition on First Amendment rights on the economy. And they're going to use the whole thrust on vaccinations, which is quite bizarre and unscientific, it seems to me, in light of the fact that there seem to be some simple off-the-shelf cures like hydroxychloroquine taken with zinc and taken with zithromycin.
Yeah. Zithromax.
That seems to have done some wonders in the laboratory of
Yeah.
Didier Raoult in Marseille, and the fact that celebrities and rich people are lining up to take his remedy, including the stepdaughter of Macron himself.
Right.
Can you
You
believe
told
that?
me.
What
I
hypocrisy!
know.
So anyway, but the vaccination itself is going to be used obviously as a way to control us, to force us to be chipped. That seems to be obvious. You can find that certainly in ID 2020, which
That's alarming.
is part of it, which is what Gates has been pushing and the people around Gates are pushing. And of course, political left loves the idea of controlling people in such an Orwellian way.
Sure.
Which is, consistent
Yeah,
with
there
our
definitely
behavior.
are people that want to control us and that gain from this power.
Well,
I don't
let
believe
me
Gates
just
has
say,
malicious intent.
yeah, let me just say a few things because we're skipping around a little bit. But one of the saddest chapters of all of this, I have to say, is what I didn't expect is how quickly the church itself shut down and stopped people from enjoying the sacraments. I mean, this pales in comparison to, I would imagine, Nazi occupation. This pales in comparison to the Black Death. I would like to know historically what happened to the church, the greater Christian church, in terms of mass and the availability of sacraments and the ability for priests to stand up in those moments. What did they do in those terrible situations? This is almost nothing, for goodness sake.
Well, there has been some priests in America who've tried to continue mass, and they were shut down or warned not to do so.
That's unbelievable.
Now,
We need to be more rebellious about the church itself. Look, we're Christians, and we know that this was supposed to happen, and Christians will be purged and persecuted, and there'll become a time where there'll be the rise of what we call the beast system, and it'll be led by very evil people. This is probably it. We're probably in the beginnings of that. I think the beginning of that was, 9/11 was the beginning of that in my life, I think. So many horrible things happened around 9/11. And we could debate that at some point. But certainly almost a year ago to the day, the burning down of Notre Dame Cathedral. That was the opening salvo of this last terrible chapter, I think, against Christians and against the sanctity.
I don't
of
think it
Christian
was
values.
just that. It was probably the over 500 attacks on these churches in
Okay,
in France.
we could talk about
No one's
actually
talking about it.
the Christian peoples from Egypt to Pakistan and Sri Lanka. For goodness sake, no one's talking about the bombings that killed from 200 to 300 poor Christians who were just praying. For goodness sake, just like what happened in Egypt, what happened in Sri Lanka. No one talked about that and how they were bombed. What was it, 2 or 3 churches?
Oh, the Syrians
Whilst on their
Catholic.
knees praying. I mean, this is unbelievable. But certainly no one is also talking enough about 1 million to 500,000 Christians, the oldest Christian communities on the planet in Syria that have just been genocided. We don't even know what happened to them. We can't even account for that, and no one cared. Okay. Also, with respect to on good evidence that the forces that butchered these poor Christian peoples were probably funded by the Obama administration, with Hillary Clinton's support, and President Obama himself, I would imagine, with the Saudis who funded this horrific organization called ISIS.
Why?
Well, it seems obvious to me a palpable hatred for anything that's Christian or near Christian, for goodness sake. I think so. I think this is a war against people who come from a certain Judeo-Christian ethic that they've been warring against in comment, in action, in policy, and laws, and we're just seeing the very beginning of something very terrible to come. But anyway, I just want to say this one last thing about because we
go ahead, keep going
with Conchita Gonzalez. So Christians, good traditional Christians, have been waiting on bated breath for what Conchita, who is the last living seer of Garabandal, what she will say about the last days.
Yeah, 8 days before she will tell us.
There you go. So 8 days before, a great miracle is supposed to happen among the pines. I think that's what she's suggesting in Garabandal itself for the whole world to see, in order for people to return back to Christ, either to accept Christ or to become better Christians and to reevaluate their relationship with God. And I think a few days after that will come the illumination of our souls. This is prophecies. I don't know. We have no idea to know. Gesundheit. I'm sorry. God bless you. I should say it properly. And then a little bit after that, maybe a year after that or so, or less than a year, I think she says after that will be some great chastisement from above. Yeah. So, and that just goes, and that's actually a prophecy that goes all the way back to.
You almost feel like this is happening now,
to Noah and the flood.
Because she said it will happen in April or May.
Yeah, and the last chastisement will be from fire from above. I think that's consistent. That's been reinforced for millennia, for goodness sake. But anyway, it doesn't matter whether Garamandel is a legitimate prophecy, Marian apparition or not, in the Catholic tradition. Certainly her words are beautiful. And
it wasn't just a one-time thing. It happened for years.
Her words are poignant. And what she said, if it's legitimate, there have been some words from her with respect to the virus. And she said that this is, like going back to what you said, a wonderful opportunity for us to examine our souls and to repair our relationship with God. And I think that's actually quite true. I think a lot of us are doing that. We're now doing the rosary more than ever before. At least some of us are.
I've been doing it for the last couple of years, trying to get better.
Yeah.
And clean my soul and be closer to God. Yeah.
Yep. And so there you go. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just get into the news here.
So, I mean, if there's anything good that came out of this is something good that came out of it. Don't you think? Yeah.
I do. If some people take it that way, but some people might take it the other way.
How?
I don't know. They might think that
party like it's 1999.
Well, if you let me just say something. No, many might think that this is all coming. Let's say the virus because of our maltreatment of the earth.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about that.
And their God is the earth, and their mother is planet Earth.
Yeah, we should talk about that.
Being a big push for Earth Day was yesterday. And, seeing a lot of posts where people are believing that their God is the God of the earth. As Taylor Marshall's stated one of his videos, there's that whole push that the church had with the celebration of the Pachimamas, where they brought these idols into the church. These were people from the Amazon Synod, and the Pope allowed prayer to these relics or these gods that they pray for in the Amazon. I mean,
incredibly blasphemous. Sure,
it is blasphemous. So
and it just supports the modernist thrust since Pope Paul VI, at least, and John the 23rd, perhaps, that that Jesus Christ is not the way, the truth, and the life. That there are many ways to God, and certainly there's a fellowship of all Christians, and a diminution in the value that we put in the Eucharist itself. Certainly in the idea of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and in certain sacraments like marriage and confession and baptism and such. But also that was expanded by John Paul II in his call for religions around the world to converge on Assisi, Italy, in the beginning of his pontificate, where he invited, I think, about 120 what from a traditional point of view would be false religions, invited them to bless, to give their blessings at Assisi. Unbelievable. Yeah. But there you go.
In summary, it's a postmodern push to make a new religion, because it's not Catholicism.
No.
It's basically saying, yeah, I'm a Catholic, but Jesus didn't rise from the dead.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'm a Catholic, but you don't need to take the Eucharist.
Yeah.
What? I'm a Catholic, but it's okay to live in sin.
Yeah. If
I'm a Catholic, and you know what? You don't have to have good deeds. Just go and confess on Sunday.
Yeah.
But Taylor Marshall also speaks about that confession has to be sincere and genuine.
Right.
You can't just say, which I'm sure we could say we saw from Godfather, where his daughter's being baptized in the original St. Patrick Church.
Reject Satan,
and he said, you denounce Satan? Yes, I do. But he knows he sent some hitmen to take people out.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm in church. My sins will be absolved. No. That's why I was always perplexed as a young kid when I heard people say, God is great. God loves. You know, Hitler, he's in heaven. Well, if you're sincerely sorry, I'm like, what? Really? He's sincerely sorry for what he did? I can't get there. I can't. It baffles my mind that would be true, though. So, But
Right.
yeah, we have this new watered down religion. It's not even Catholicism.
Yeah, okay, but
It's
bring this
whatever you
back to
wanna call it.
virus. We're going to say, I think the Pope, certainly Obama and John Kerry, and
Yeah.
goodness else, certainly the leftist press, they've all been trying to make some sort of connection between this pandemic and climate change. How crazy is that? And at the same time, there's all this wonderful evidence about hydroxychloroquine, and there's all this evidence about the origin of all this as being some sort of a bio weapon that was engineered within two virology labs in Wuhan, with connections to Duke University's virology lab, and I think
Look,
actually
I'm wearing
another
a
connection
Duke
with
shirt
a
right
Canadian. What do you wear?
I bought it at Duke when I was out there.
Oh, there you go. All right.
I'm not a Duke
Well,
fan, but
yeah,
bought
Duke is evil, man. They produced Nixon. Oh, you like Nixon though.
well, that's Bill Gates' wife went to Duke.
Yeah.
Bill Gates'
And they
wife.
produced Hurley and Grant Hill, so yeah, not good. I'm
Hey,
just joking.
you just
No,
brought
they're
up
cool. I like them
Wuhan.
actually. I like them.
Did you hear? Well, they're phenomenal basketball players and great institutions.
No, they were good. They were great, man. Duke
Did
is
you
amazing.
hear?
It's not like Yale and
President-
Georgetown. They're evil. That
President
certainly
Trump.
there's about a 50% chance that the Antichrist is coming out of one of those institutions.
President Trump was asked the question about the U.S. government that it gave 3.7 million grand to the Wuhan lab at
Yeah.
the center of the coronavirus leak. And this was under 2015 under Obama.
Wow.
So this is a question that needs to be asked.
Well, fantastic.
Why did this happen? No one spoke about this.
Well, certainly,
I heard rumors about it.
also the Pasteur Institute in France, they gave money. There's talk that the director of the Pasteur Institute was at the inauguration ceremony for one of the two labs in Wuhan. There are two labs there. That's my impression, not just one. There's a ton of evidence here. There was a Chinese researcher with a PhD from Harvard, or maybe she was a student getting her PhD at Harvard, Harvard Medical School, and she wrote a paper in Lancet. Making a connection between a scientist in one of the labs close to the wet market in Wuhan in testing bat viruses. They were obsessed with bat viruses and collecting bat specimens around the world, including in India, very largely in India, that he was sprayed with the urine and the blood of a bat, and that's probably the way that actually
I heard about that.
he got the virus and was transmitted to the rest of the population after that. Maybe it was
What are we
transmitted
led
to the
to
wet market
believe?
after that. Well, I'm just saying,
so many-
if you can make that specious claim, well, about climate change itself, that's specious, and then a doubly specious claim that the virus, the pandemic, is a result of climate change, then goodness, let's examine that. I'm all for examining all of these questions. But let's begin with the more obvious ones on where it began and how it began and what the history of it was, including what they were studying in these two laboratories in Wuhan, why they were studying it, which parties were involved in this. I hear stories that Soros was involved in this and Gates was involved in this. I don't know. What did Soros know? What did Gates know? What did the Obama administration know? What did Dr. Fauci know? Who's responsible for this? Thinking like a lawyer. And we're going to call. We have to call for Nuremberg-type trials with respect to what's happened here. This is what we need to do. Of course, I'm not the only voice saying this, but we really
It definitely needs to be investigated, and hopefully
in the millions to demand accountability by these various governments. And it breaks my heart because it's true, you can't only say China. I think China is just some sort of an anvil against the last remains of democracy in the world. That's all it is.
Maybe,
they're more powerful
maybe their society, because it's run by the government, is easily malleable if you get in with them, meaning they could snap their fingers and get.
No, but I don't think it's a Chinese smackdown on the global economy. Not them.
No, you're saying they're being used?
I think they're being used. I've heard stories of Bilderberg meetings where they said 20, 25 years ago, maybe longer than that, probably 30, 35 years ago, knowing economic history, that China will rise by their dictates and the West will fall. Right? And that was the idea.
Well, this was all planned to give them this carte blanche on society to dominate?
To maybe reset the global economy, to suck jobs out of the industrial base of our countries, and and for China to lead the way in terms of information, what little we have in terms of the information society, to control the internet. All right.
Well, the 5G, but they're
Develop-
getting backlash now,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Well, to develop
Getting
the
backlash
great
from
surveillance society. Yeah.
Well, Ross
That's what
Perot
China's
was
going. But I don't.
saying this in
Let
the
me just say
90s.
again. But I just don't think it's from China. I think there's certain forces in the world that are using China, have been using them for decades for their own personal profit, but certainly also for a global vision of taking down the rest, what little democracies, what little free enterprise we have left in the world. That's what I think. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that as
Just
evidence
an
comes in.
article, a CNN article Wednesday. Divisions on battling the coronavirus deepen as Trump and southern states push opening. There's some southern states that are pushing opening. In Florida, the governor allowed people to be on the beach, even though you have to practice social distancing.
The hope.
Be in the water.
Can you believe that?
In Atlanta.
Can you believe that the hope of the world lies on good old boys from the deep south? Am I wrong? Man,
the governor of Atlanta, I believe, said we are opening up America again, or Trump said this. 20 states representing 40% of the population have announced that they are making plans and preparations to safely restart their economies. This is President Trump. I'm sorry.
Can you believe this?
So
Can you
there's
believe that the hope of the world lies in Dixie, the deep south?
An expanding coalition of southern conservative states led by governors who broadly support Trump is now emerging. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves said he had spoken with other southern governors on reopening. Trump said he was against the reopening in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he's giving the power to the states to decide what to do.
Wow.
Most people don't understand these things. They think, the president just snaps his finger and he could do whatever he wants. But that's not the case. States have power as well.
Wow. Interesting.
Patrice Harris, the president of the American Medical Association, said she was worried about a possible second wave of infections in the fall and a second wave to come sooner.
Of course.
I'm believing if there's a second wave that's going to happen, we might as well get on with our lives.
Exactly.
But
that's
what are we going to stay locked down for years?
If this is any indication of where we are, that's what happened with the flu epidemic of 1918. It was terrible. It came in incredibly fast in around the spring, but then it dissipated around the summer, and then it really came back with a vengeance around the autumn. So, but then again, like I keep saying, but that pales in comparison, it seems to me, than COVID-19. This is nothing compared to the flu of 1918. This is nothing compared to SARS. This is probably nothing compared to MERS as well, too. Right? Yeah. I have a theory. I have a theory that actually it might have leaked out by accident because it's just too weak for what seems to be the plans of global elites to give us the gift of global governance. They probably
well, that's what I said.
They probably intended something a lot stronger than this. It probably was. Certainly, it was reckless. I mean, certainly they were investigating this, not for fear that this may come. How in the world are we going to get a virus from bats? That doesn't make any sense. But they were weaponizing something that, but by accident, maybe by a gift of God. That's what me and my wife have been saying here. By gift of God, we've been awakened to the nefarious doings of people who are connected with this with WMDs like this around the world, and it came out early to waken us up to.
If I'm going to be practical, I think they were conducting studies and tests in China, and this leaked out.
Yeah,
there might be some nefarious scientists who maybe wanted it to leak out. I have no idea.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting.
As Rudy Giuliani stated, I listened to him on the radio. He has a radio program. He said, "Explain to me how this virus is in Long Island and it's not in the capitals of China."
No,
that makes no sense.
That's a different argument in terms of.
No. I'm just saying that's just very odd.
That's a joke.
Of course, there are a lot of variables involved there.
Yeah,
but it is bizarre.
On an industrial level.
If true.
Yeah.
once again, we don't know if it's true. There could be 1 million in Shanghai who are suffering. I have no idea.
No, I'm sure they're playing down the numbers in Iran, particularly in Iran, maybe North Korea, we don't know, and certainly in China. That's a joke. But that's the benefit of being in closed societies, right?
Yeah. Just in the New York Times, your favorite newspaper, that used to carry through these areas in New York.
I think I took a bullet or two, or at least just missed a bullet or two, just by carrying this paper under my arms in the Bronx. Yeah.
Trump announces a pause for green cards, but backs off guest worker plans. And of course, he's getting a lot of heat for the green card pause. He got heat for closing our airports to China and Europe. And, it's called the same thing over and over again, racist. Yeah. But then weeks later, the media said he wasn't firm enough, so you can't win. But I just saw something that
catch-22.
But 2.7.
There are a good 20% of us in the world who are wise to how good of a leader he's been.
Yeah,
I think a good 20, maybe 10%. Maybe I'm being a little bit too generous. But you can start a revolution with 10%.
Well, you have to study. You have to look at both sides here and be analytical.
Oh no, well that's the problem.
Key.
That's the problem.
I'll call him out when he's wrong.
They've gotten us in our societies from cradle to grave with their propaganda. That's the problem. Yeah. Right.
I just saw on TV, Fox News, concerning New York City, 13.9% of New Yorkers developed an antibody, and 2.7 million likely were infected. Yeah. So it goes to your argument.
I think that includes my brother Phil. Phil said he had the virus. Phil said he had the virus for a week, so that includes Phil.
Well, he could have. You don't know until he gets tested. He could have had it mildly. Yeah. I felt a little ill last night. I felt weak, but I hydrated and ate some oranges. I felt better after.
Yeah. What about these letters in Britain? They say they have a strict diet of whiskey and I think just whiskey, something like that, and they killed it. They killed it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
who knows? I believe all of our bodies are unique and we adapt differently.
Yeah.
There's been a new 484 billion relief package that was pushed by for small business and hospitals.
Nice.
So in New York, some say nice, some say they're busting the treasury. It's like the show Sopranos.
Yeah.
You just take over, as they did. They took over a sports company that sold merchandise.
Yeah, you know who the actor
writing
was?
checks and busting it out.
Yeah, you know who the actor was? That was the brother who played in T2, Terminator 2.
Oh yeah?
That was the Terminator guy.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, yep. I did know that. Yeah.
Where's Tony Soprano where we need him, man? We need him now. Actually, this is a terrible argument I'm going to make. I don't know. We're jumping around there, but what the hell? There is sometimes a reason for La Cosa Nostra, for the mafia. Sometimes government needs a nice force to check their excesses. And that was actually the reason why La Cosa Nostra began to begin with. But I mean...
Yeah, well, they used it to defend themselves. They were taken advantage of. They had no say.
If you remember The Godfather, that was the message of Michael Corleone, Al Pacino, a.k.a. Al Pacino in The Godfather. The biggest mobsters of all are the government. Right?
Yeah.
I remember Diane King said,
he said that to the senator.
You're being silly, Michael. Politicians don't kill anyone. And it's like, now who's...
Yeah, he said we're both part of the same hypocrisy, Senator.
Yeah.
Didn't he say that?
He said, now who's being naive? Remember he said that to Diane Keaton? It is true.
So an argument about some of these payments is regular working folk who get $500 a week of unemployment.
Yeah.
There's been another $600 attached to it. Yeah. So they're getting $1,100.
Yeah.
And Senator Graham has said this will be an issue. It is an issue because people won't want to come back to work.
Yeah.
If you're making more in unemployment than you make when you're working, why would you want to come back to work?
Do you need a PhD in social psychology to figure that one out? Do you need to be a Freudian psychiatrist to figure that one out?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Good mistake. I mean, come on, common sense. Oh, we're going to devote one whole issue to Freud, as being the first pornographer. Okay?
Oh, interesting.
And we're going to fully delve into the Oedipus and the electric complexes.
Yeah.
Please.
Hey,
What
how
is-
about your girl AOC?
Oh, my God. From our neighborhood, right?
Did you see her tweet?
No, to be honest, I've kind of moved away from looking at
Same here.
Looking at the news. I'm just
Same
overwhelmed
here.
by it all, and they're just repeating themselves.
Same
And
here.
I'm pretty sure what the deal is.
Well, she put up a tweet.
And I ain't no mental midget, as they
Yeah.
say, right? I think
Yeah.
I figured out that the fix is in. I've figured it out for a long
Let
time.
me just tell you what her tweet said.
Tell me.
She had a tweet that celebrated the oil crash
Yeah.
and record low interest rates.
Yeah.
She said, this
How
along
nature-
with the
how
record
nature's
low
coming back.
interest rates means it's the right time for a worker-led mass investment in green infrastructure to
Oh, yeah,
save
okay.
our planet. And it ended with the cough.
Yeah. I mean, what is this obsession growing up in New York? Well, she didn't grow up in the Bronx. That's all.
No.
That's line number one, isn't it? She grew up in Westchester. But I mean, if she really cares, she could actually take care of the New England Thruway and that garbage dump that we use at the park in
New
Pelley
England
Park.
Thruway.
And Bodoland. I mean, clean up that Bodoland area and the mighty Co-op City River. We're hemmed in by four
That's pretty funny.
elements of cancer, for goodness sake. I mean, if she really cared about green, then deal with that situation. I'll be very happy with that. At least stop burning tires around Bodoland. Remember the smell of that place?
We don't see that anymore. But
It probably,
that's
probably killed off 80% of our family. My two parents died of cancer from that, and your two parents died of cancer too, right? I'm telling you, that's what it was.
What was with that big garbage mountain?
Yeah, me and Cliff
outside,
played on that, man. We were king of the mountain and wrestling, and it was like a scene from Bill Cosby's, what is it called?
Fat Albert.
Yeah, Fat Albert. Yeah, playing around the garbage dump. Yeah, and we were
might have helped us develop antibodies for certain diseases. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. If I die next year, all bets are off.
Like, Cliff, look, a diaper. Look, a loaded diaper. That was fun to us. For goodness sake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
A stone's throw away from beautiful City Island and Orchard Beach. Goodness.
So, just to get to
the way, and me and Greg, we went fishing in the mighty Co-op City River, and hey, man, I know what quicksand is. Can you believe that? Quicksand in the Bronx. We both got stuck in the mud, and I thought we were going to die at some point. I'm not lying to you.
I remember hearing about
it. It was like cement. It was mud that only came up to our knees, the most polluted river in the world, by the way. But it came up to our knees, and I couldn't get out of it. I think the only way we got out of it is by leaving our pro kids in the mud and just like
way
falling away. I'm not lying to you. Yeah.
You walked home barefoot? Come on.
Something like that. I couldn't get my shoe out. I'm not lying to you. I think I left my shoes there. Yeah, and I think they're still there, for goodness sake.
Can you imagine if you
40
would have
years
drowned?
ago? Huh?
If you would have drowned?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was serious. It was. I got a little scared. I'm not lying. First, you laugh it off, man, but I was sinking, and that thing was around my knees, and it was getting lower too. I'm telling you. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this was a dream or if it really happened, but my good friend Colin, I recall us walking on the train tracks above the water, and we had to be cognizant if the train came.
That was in Section 5.
Yeah, well, we had to be cognizant if the train came, because if the train was coming, you had to jump about 30 feet into the water.
That's what they used to do for fun. Alex Avila's and company, Gabe Urias, man, and Monica. They used to climb up on the, they probably watch people encourage them, but knuckleheads would climb up on, I think that was the Amtrak train. Yeah. And there was an Amtrak crash there, too, when we were younger. I don't know if you know that. I think there was a head-on collision. Can you believe that? But anyway, for fun, people used to climb up on that bridge around the mouth of the mighty Co-op City River and jump into the muddy, murky, cancer-laden, COVID-19 laden waters. Yeah.
COVID-19. Remember the horseshoe crabs? There were many of them.
Yeah.
Guys used to just take them out and kill them.
Yeah. That turned me off about eating lobster and crab, I have to tell you.
Well, they say lobster and crab are just roaches of the ocean.
Thank you. Yeah. I came to terms with that about 25 years ago.
I come to terms with this.
Lisa's wedding when we OD'd on lobster, for goodness sake. I was like,
Come to terms with this.
I feel like
The
I'm eating
healthiest thing
insects.
for you to eat is an insect.
That,
No
that's
fat.
that's
all
what
protein.
AOC has in mind for us. You know that, right?
Oh yeah,
They've
yeah.
been talking
Possibly
about
so.
that. Yeah, a steady diet of
Hey, so
Well, let me just say, what broke my heart. I don't know why we're talking about this. I heard that some nutter climbed onto the Amtrak training and decided, let me impress all my friends. Let me, Booby and Gabe and Monica. Let me impress them.
excuse me, one sec. I'm
It's pretty
listening.
sweet. Where you going to the bathroom?
No. Go ahead.
No, come on.
My lamp fell.
You what?
My lamp fell. I told you. The lamp.
Ah, okay. But
I
anyway,
didn't want it to burn
yeah,
up that place.
so some nutter, we used to hang out with, trying to impress Booby and company. Decided, yeah, pre-sweet, and Timo, or whoever, what the hell are their names? I'm trying to remember their names. Dude, man.
Funny.
Yeah. Anyway,
Some better.
shoot. Yeah. Decided to do one better than everyone else and say, look what I can do. Let me climb up at the top. This is horrible. Climb at the top of the tower here that held the electrical cords. Not even that. Let me extend, let it really impress the brothers down below who are like, supporting me. This was our Mount Everest. To let me swing Tarzan from one wire to the next to the other tower. He grabbed the two towers and this is horrible. And his legs melted off. His legs
Wait, did he die?
melted. No, he survived without legs. They just
He fell in the water without legs.
They burnt off. They had to amputate his legs.
The good old New York public school system didn't teach him fear, huh?
That's why, to be honest, you want to be honest, this is a good way to tie this all up. When I heard about this quarantine, come on, man. Like I told you, the ancient art of Bushido. It was ringing in my ears. This is all bull. I'm waiting to I want to see the body bags. I hate to say this in a sense, around my block. Okay? People are chilling. Not one person is sick. They never looked healthy, for goodness sake, at least physically, mentally.
Well, I disagree with you because I know a lot of people who are sick. I'm on Facebook. A lot of
Sick in
people
the
who
head
died.
and body.
Hold on.
Right.
A lot of people who died. But I think they're putting this coronavirus tag on almost everybody.
That's what I'm saying, too.
People who are dying at age 80. Oh, he died. I'm not kidding.
It's a lot more. We're going to talk about this.
At the times, they have people who are dying at 90 due to coronavirus.
They're going to die of something. Exactly. So
I'm like, wait, what does that mean?
Hold
on. I'm saying, what does that mean?
Yeah.
The person had heart problems for 20 years, but then they tested him for corona and he tested positive?
Yeah.
If the numbers are true that 2.7 million New Yorkers have corona, you could put that on anyone who dies. I'm not saying
with all due respect, they just
I don't know.
They just gave the stats in California, okay, on Fox, and they figured out the death rate was only like 0.048. I mean, like even less than what you typically die from with respect to common strands of influenza. And there was a hot mic, and someone on Fox said, "This is all a hoax."
Really?
The recorder saying, "This is all a hoax."
Wow.
I still don't know. The question is still out for me.
Well, even the female physician who heads the department that's covering this, Brick, said a week ago or more that the coronavirus is being assigned to almost everyone who died.
Thank you.
And it wasn't scientifically investigated. That's her thing.
She actually said that?
She's in the know. Yeah, you can look it up.
Interesting. Well, I think we should end on this note. The note that I wanted to end on is...
Well, I just want to add some more things here.
Oh, go ahead, please.
We talk about this guy swinging from wires in Co-op City. He would have been reprimanded in this day and time because our civil liberties have been infringed upon. The mayor de Blasio.
How dare they stop us from climbing?
The mayor de Blasio said, almost in Gestapo fashion, you should report your neighbors who are doing things or who aren't social distancing. Send pictures.
Where's he getting his support?
People are sending pictures.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Of rebellion, maybe of their privates.
No, they're privates, I heard,
to say, hey, F you, man. This is how I'm telling on my neighbors. So
Well, yeah, I mean,
there is a
how is
rebellion.
how is he so popular? This guy.
I don't get it because even in this democratic city,
Yeah.
many moons ago,
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani became mayor. He's a
Yeah.
Republican. But I recall elections being close.
Yeah.
I don't understand how
I
someone
think
can get
once
70.
again the fig. You know my philosophy on life. The
What
fix is in. It's like Ahmadinejad receiving a 100% approval for his presidency
Oh, we know.
in open elections. Stuff like that. The fix
Or
is.
Obama winning the Peace Prize? He
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
I think AOC is
Before he
going
got
to win.
elected.
I think AOC is going to be the Woman of the Year. I'm surprised she wasn't the Time Woman of the Year.
No,
And
they gave it to a 16-year-old.
yeah,
How dare you?
the one with autism, right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
You can't say anything because she's a woman and she has autism.
We're watching you.
Michael Savage
Did
said
she
many.
begin her speech at the United Nations saying that? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't make this up. We are watching you. Yeah. we know
Michael
that.
Savage said this many moons ago. I'm a big advocate of his program. He inspired me to
Oh, the
do
Bronx
this.
boy.
Yeah, inspired me to do this. But he said,
Yeah.
you can't, he didn't say this, but you can't comment on Thunberg because she's 16. If you do, it's anti-age. She's has, what does she have?
Something mentally ill.
Okay.
Propaganda.
So you're
She's
making
an
fun
MK
of
Ultra
someone,
victim, more or less.
making fun of someone who's sick,
Yeah.
and you're making fun of a woman.
Yeah.
Savage says when he grew up in the Bronx, they told it like it was.
Yeah.
He had a friend, his father had a friend,
Yeah.
a store on Ludlow Street that sold furniture, and he told it like it was. Johnny with the bad breath. That's how they identified him. Johnny had terrible breath.
Yeah.
He said something that was off the charts. Doctors couldn't even diagnose this.
Yeah, it's like a scene from
Halitosis times
Goodfellas or
1,000.
Bronx Tale, it seems to me.
He also had a friend with one arm, and it was one-arm Mike.
No, they should have called him Two-Arm Mike. It would
Well,
have been
yeah,
funny.
well, that's what Michael Savage was saying. Nowadays, one arm's better than two. Back
Yeah.
in the 50s, no, it was honest. One arm Mike.
No.
He can't do this because he has one arm, or limp,
The Sopranos,
Freddie
big-
with the one leg, fucked up leg Fred.
yeah, big or little.
Now it's okay. Now that's charming. To be in the
Charming.
wheelchair, to have one leg, to have bad breath,
Yeah.
and to be blind. You're the alpha male now.
Yeah.
You should be celebrating. But wait, one more. We talk about civil liberties here.
Yeah.
Los Angeles and their skate parks. They're known for their skate parks. We've
Yeah.
been there together
Yeah.
in Venice.
My
where
kid dreams
people-
about that.
Yeah, where people skate on the skate park. Of course, it's
Yeah.
made of cement in the sand.
Yeah.
And they're filling these skate parks up with sand to
Why?
prevent these skaters from being there.
Why?
So they don't want people to be close to each other. They don't want people to
No,
exercise.
I catch that. Much worse than that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're supposed to be in a financial crisis. We've been in a financial crisis since Napoleon Bonaparte, for goodness sake. All right. And I'm talking about the first, not the third.
Right.
Here in France. And for goodness sake, they're flying around helicopters. How much do helicopters cost? Isn't it like $50,000 an hour?
Oh, I don't know.
Gasoline alone to fly around in a helicopter, something crazy like that. Oh, well,
Right.
a couple of thousand probably. And they're flying around the remotest regions of the Alps looking for people who are by themselves, okay, cross-country skiing, climbing up Mont Blanc or something like that, and arresting them for being outside when they're not supposed to. They arrested like a whole family for gathering together in the remotest regions of the Alps who decided to have
Are you serious?
a barbecue together. Yeah.
That's outlandish.
Yeah. All right. Well, on this note, I just want to say we don't have to worry very much. With what we went through in the Bronx, New York, we probably have the highest resistance imaginable. Certainly the resistance from all this bullshit. How does that sound to you?
Yeah. Let me just quote this guy, David Marcus from the Federalists.
Oh, I just ended it on a great note. Oh, okay. Let's go.
He says the American people are going through a lot of tests at once right now. The saving lives test, the trying to avoid total economic collapse tests,
Yeah.
and importantly, the civil liberties test.
Yeah.
In regard to the last one, we have some choice. Under how harsh a watch from Big Brother do we want to spend our days?
Yeah.
Do we want to become Big Brother ourselves Isn't that always the way? When we read 1984, we all imagine we are Winston, and in so doing, entirely miss the point.
God bless America.
Very interesting, huh?
God protect the church. God protect the faithful. See you later.
All right.
God bless.
God bless.